So, a very good evening to all of you present over here. Myself, Utkarsh, moderator of today's webinar. Welcome you all on behalf of My Trusted Tutor family. So, let me introduce My Trusted Tutor first. So, mytrustedtutor.com is a marketplace for private tutors, schools, teachers, academicians, and all kind of educational professions who can help with the school assignment. Our main motive is to make quality education available with ease and affordable to all. I would like to add one more thing that recently my trusted tutor has collaborated with educo.pro and will be soon be starting the teachers job portal educohire.com. So if looking for teaching job, kindly share your profile at email ID admin@mytrustedtutor.com. So our today's webinar speaker is Dr. Sunita Vardikar ma'am, who is going to provide a lecture on life skills recommended by WHO. So let me introduce ma'am. She is a former principal and research guide of Pillai College of Education and Research, having an experience of 32 years in the field of education, guided research scholars at master's and doctoral level. She has an in-depth understanding of activity-based learning and teaching methodologies with a strong knowledge of pedagogies to teach 21st century skills. She is an accomplished administrator with personal integrity and positive approach, a transformational leader with an instinct to lead from the front, convened a number of research conferences, seminars, symposiums. She has presented and published a number of research papers, peer reviewer, and on editorial board on several research journals. She was a member of board of studies at MIT Pune and Texila American University. Her achievements are she received Best Teacher Award from Higher Education Forum for outstanding contribution to teaching and education management. She was recognized as a distinguished research paper presenter at Higher Education Forum's International Research Conference. Now it's over to you, ma'am. You can start.
So, the title of the webinar today is The Science of Achievement and the Art of Fulfillment. I think these are the two master skills of life, that is, all our achievements throughout our life. And in the latter half of our life, we would like to have that fulfilled, satisfied life. And while doing so, we need a number of skills which help us in gaining, in achieving the goal, achieving the success in life. So the World Health Organization has categorically given us 10 important life skills which should be mastered at the school level with the children so that we get a successful life. So today our journey would be to see what are these life skills and how they are going to help us in our journey of life. So let's begin with the presentation and okay.
Yeah.
So today our journey would be, we'll first find out what is the meaning of life skills, then importance of life skills and classification of life skills given by World Health Organization and its implications, how we can inculcate these life skills in our journey. That would be our total session. Now, we all know that the education which we are having in our schools and colleges is based on majorly four pillars. They are learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. Now, who has given us these pillars? A report to UNESCO by the Commission of Education in 21st century noted that education should include four main dimensions or pillars which are given here on the screen. Now, if we have to attain all these aspects of learning, we need very good curriculum, we need very good life skills, the skills which help us in learning. So today, let us see which are those important skills which are going to help us in achieving the pillars of education, our goal towards fruitful education. So learning to know, what does learning to know say? So let me just put the second slide. It's learning to know is instrumental basic learning skills. You should know foundational skills. Presupposes learning to learn. See, today the information in the information world, knowledge is growing, information is growing in leaps and bounds. So the best thing we can do is teach our learners learning to learn. They should be the lifelong learners. and preparation for the learning society. Learning to be is independent judgment, sense of personal responsibility, tapping the buried treasure of hidden talents, that is the journey inward. Try to invent yourself, which is very important. Then learning to live together. Today, in the world of collaboration and cooperativeness, we need to learn the skills which help us in bonding and understanding each other, respect for human dignity and diversity, learning for responsible and active citizenship. And finally, learning to do, learning for work and life, competencies to deal with unforeseeable situations, and alternating study and work. So now in order to attain this, we need a number of skills. But the ones identified by World Health Organization, there are around 10 core life skills which we are going to go through. So when I'm saying about life skill, let us understand what is a life skill. What are life skills? Life skills is a term used to describe a set of basic skills acquired through learning or direct life experience that enable individuals and groups to effectively handle issues and problems commonly encountered in daily life. In simple terms, if we have to say, we all know that in our age-old system of education, that is the Gurukul system. In the Gurukul system, the disciple went to the guru's place and he would be staying with the guru, learning every aspect of life. You know, whether it is education, whether it is doing some household chores or whatever it is to the disciple is to spend time with the guru, learning every aspect of life. You know, whether it's philosophical, whether it's knowing life skills in simple terms, as I said, how the disciple is to go in, stay with the guru and learn every aspect of life. And those days, they never had any such things as mental illness or depression or all such things because they were very balanced over there. They were treated at par. All of them were treated equally, and the guru took care of all the disciples. I would like to tell you a small little story here now to know what is the meaning of life skills. There was a nest from the tree fell down, and in the nest there were some eggs laid by the bird. Now some naughty boys were going around and they saw that the birds are trying to come out of the egg. They were struggling to come out of the eggs. So they thought, let's help the birds come out of the eggs. So they took some stones, they threw at the eggs, tried to break the shells of the eggs, and the birds could come out, but they didn't survive. What is the reason for that? Do you know that? The reason is the struggle period inside the egg is very important because that helps them in developing their wings. It makes the wings stronger. Now, that particular phase, that period was lost. The birds were exposed to the world very early, and that's how they didn't develop the skills, survival skills, which are required to survive in this world. This is exactly what we mean by life skill. The skills required to adjust, adapt to our environment, not only adapt, but adapt successfully. We are going to see now which are these skills. So definition given by World Health Organization of life skill, the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. Now, how does training in life skills benefit young people? It makes them self-confident. It helps to be more articulate. They can express their opinions and they can argue on certain points. They help in facing challenges of life positively. They make the children responsible citizens, develop resilience, which is very important. We all have experienced now during this pandemic how we had to have positivity and we had to be resilient, bounce back. We should be well balanced. And to have this well balanced personality, we need these life skills. We need to be self-confident and make positive contributions to the society. So life skills are going to help us in inculcating all these qualities. Now, the key messages we are going to get through this presentation: in every situation of life, we use some skills. Thinking out of box can often find solution to a seemingly difficult problems. We encounter a number of problems in our life, but if you can sit quietly and think out of box, if one solution doesn't work, another will definitely work. So we should have the capacity of developing this particular skill, thinking out of box, which is also called as creative thinking. Then critical thinking, we can analyze all the pros and cons of any situation. Again, people jump at conclusions without giving a thought. So we have to develop in our learners how to do critical thinking, how to analyze a problem and find solutions. The key to success in life is to make good choices. Decision making is another important skill, which very often I feel people shock. They don't want to take initiative, they don't want to take any decisions because they don't want to face the consequences. So we have to teach our learners how to take the right decision to be successful in life. Every person will become successful by using the life skills properly, effectively. So these are the life skills suggested by WHO: empathy, creativity, awareness, that is self-awareness, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, stress management, building relationships, coping with emotions, and effective communication. Now, just to uh, get to know about each one, I've classified them convenient for the sake of convenience. This is the classification we are going to run through. The social skills which we are going to develop, the thinking skills, and the emotional skills. So let's see now what are these social skills which are required so that it's easy for us to cope up with this life. Self-awareness, it's defined as, is a term used to describe a person's capacity to notice the self. Awareness is the ability to notice other things coupled with self. It's friends, it's said that the longest journey is the inward journey. So if you can have reflective thinking, step back and try to analyze your personality. If you know yourself well, I think half the battle is won, because knowing yourself very well is very important, and that we can do by various ways and means, which I'll discuss a few of the things here. One thing is you can do is, can you see that picture? It's such a beautiful picture. Very often we don't know ourselves. See, the cat over there is seeing the reflection, and what is the cat thinking about himself, itself? He's a lion. It may be other way around also. Maybe a lion is seeing and maybe thinking it is the images of a cat in its mind. So, you can't underestimate yourself, neither overestimate yourself, because that's the reason why all the conflicts begin. You have to know yourself very well, know thyself. That's very important. And this self-awareness plays a very important role, because when you're analyzing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, you're considering, and that becomes a prerequisite for effective communication and cordial interpersonal relations too. So you have to reflect, maybe meditate every day, so that you will be able to give that time to yourself, and you know yourself very well. So I think the teachers and the parents should take care of this aspect, that the students, their learners, know their personalities well. And that's why teachers encouraging words, or teachers critical analysis, constructive criticism helps in developing the self-esteem of the learner. Once they develop the right self-esteem, the learner is confident and is ready to face the world. So teachers, dear, and parents, whenever your child, the child needs encouragement, please do that and give a lot of encouragement, and also constructive criticism, so that the child knows what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses. I've seen many a times the parents are just allowing the children to grow by themselves. So the children just grow, they are unaware of their strengths, their weaknesses, and then they are unable to communicate properly, they are unable to interact with people, bond with people. So this self-awareness plays a very important role in forming the positive self-esteem or the self-concept of the person. As I said, encourage a lot. So praise and criticism is compared, to the icing on the cake. If the icing is too much, it leads to indigestion, and if the icing is less, the cake becomes unappealing. So that's how the children, when they are in their most formative age group, in their adolescent phase or in their middle school, or even at the foundational level, they need a lot of encouragement. At the same time, they also know, they should know what are their weak points, what are their weaknesses. And if we try to help our learners in knowing themselves, I think that particular skill, that self-awareness, developing the right self-awareness, will go a long way in his or her dealings throughout his life. Now, to know about yourself, the self-awareness, Jory window helps us in knowing ourselves. So in the Jory window, what is given is 4 quadrants are given. The first quadrant is the open self, which is information about you that both you and others know. Very often, like, we are open, and then people know about you also, and you yourself also know about yourself. The next one is the hidden self, wherein information about you that you know but others don't know. And the third quadrant is the unknown self, which information gives information about you that neither you nor others know. And blind self, that is the information about you that you don't know but others do know. This can be very dangerous. So we have to work upon and try to shift ourselves in the various quadrants. The best quadrant you would be placed would be open self, wherein there is a lot of optimism and joy and happiness in dealings, because you know yourself and others also know about yourself. There is nothing to hide, and all the channels are open. So this really helps us in knowing ourselves. So we should try to study and know our self, our strengths, our weaknesses. The next important skill to be developed is effective communication. And effective communication, what is the meaning of that? The communication to express ourselves verbally and non-verbally, to express opinions, desires, needs, and fears, and to ask for advice and help. For all these purposes, we need to speak well. Good communication skills are the key to success. When you go for an interview, when you want to have a brainstorming session, a group discussion, it's very important how you put across your point of view. It's very important that you speak clearly and you speak convincingly, confidently. So the next important skill which who gives us is effective communication. How you speak is very important. You need this skill for your, as I said, presentation skills. Everywhere you need the presentations, the communication skills during interviews, group discussions, or as I said, you want to have a point of view to be expressed. To have good communication, effective communication, remember the 7 C's of communication. Communication has to be complete. Don't give halfway knowledge. It should be complete. Whatever message you're sending, it should be complete message. It should be concrete. It should be not vague. The other person should understand. It should be concise. People have the habit of beating around the bush when they talk. You have to master this skill, how you can give concise, effective messages. You have to be considerate. Consideration is very important. You have to be polite and consider the other listener's point of view also. You have to be courteous, and you have to be clear and correct in whatever information you are giving. Then people will really develop trust in you, and you will be effective speaker. The next important skill to be developed is empathy. And what is this empathy? It's to understand or feel emotions, what another person is experiencing. Today, we find that most of the conflicts are because of lack of empathy. People cannot go in, they are unable to think the other person the way the other person is thinking, or you can't go into the shoes of another person. So empathy is the ability to imagine what life is like for another person, putting yourself in others shoes. Empathy can help us to accept others, thereby improving social interactions and our interpersonal skills. So what should teachers and parents do to develop this skill, empathy? Should try to organize and plan activities which will give the children a chance to get exposure to harsh realities of life. We are very overprotective about our children, and that's why they don't get the right exposure. They are unable to empathize, they are unable to feel for others. So this will develop, let them meet with the different people from different professions, from different strata of the society, and let them feel what they are feeling. Let them see the harsh realities of life so that they can really feel with them. So, and have that fellow feeling. They will develop an attitude of gratitude, looking at the lower strata of people. They'll learn to be grateful, thankful to God. So it's very important to develop this aspect, empathy. You can't just be self-centered and think only about yourself. If we want to bring peace in world, empathy plays a very important role. And the most important skill, I feel, it's that interpersonal skill. J.R.D. Tata said, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. And if you want to walk far, walk with your team. Today, in the world of collaborations and cooperativeness, I think team spirit and teams play a very, very important role. You just can't achieve all by yourself. So, what are these interpersonal skills? To be able to develop and nurture supportive networks, to be able to end relationships constructively, and helps adolescents to relate with people in a positive way. So, school is a fertile ground to develop all these skills. And I think we as teachers and parents are responsible in helping our learners to develop these skills. So when we are talking about interpersonal skills, there we have to think of team building, communication skills, conflict management, persuasion skills, affirmation skills, adaptability, and negotiation skills. I'm reminded of a story of when I'm talking about negotiation skills, the tortoise and the hare. We all know the story about the tortoise and the hare. They had a running race, and in the running race, what happened was the rabbit was very confident and started running fast. The tortoise, at its own pace, started walking, and because of the overconfidence, the rabbit slept under the tree, took some rest, and was fast asleep. And finally, he couldn't reach the winning line. The tortoise reached over there. So the moral of the story was slow and steady wins the race. But later on, what happened? Again, the rabbit said, "Come on, tortoise, let's have this."
Yeah. Dear friends, I'm Padma Navanith here. By the time ma'am joins, I'll just stop. The story goes like this with the tortoise and hare. The next continuity is these two becomes friends, and the same it continues where tortoise keeps walking and the hare keeps moving in the same track. It so happens that the tortoise start thinking, I'm walking on the land and the tortoise is in water. Why can't I put the tortoise on my back and keep moving so that we can reach to the same spot where we need to? And the destination of these two goes on. Somewhere in the mid path, where the tortoise is on the back of the hare, and these two keeps moving to reach to the goal. In between, there will be a flow of water. Now, immediately, the thought shifts. Tortoise says to the hare, it is my turn now to move towards the destination. Do one thing, hare. Now you sit on my back and I'll take you to the place where you need to. And here the exchange of thoughts of these two moves simultaneously, and two of them will reach to the destination. In between, what we noticed is which hare could not take a moo, tortoise helped. Where tortoise could not take a moo, hare helped the tortoise. So friends, this story, in the initial stage, what we have learned is slow and steady, makes us to reach to the destination. But now here, the understanding, collaboration between friends as well as the team, wherever we are, if you're able to understand the mentality and the skills, this is not more as a critical thinking. This is kind of a communication what we have. If it is very strong, this is going to help us in a better manner. And this is where we exactly win ourselves. Mentally, when we are connecting to people, this is going to help us a lot. And I think this is what, like, the story goes on and on. Hope ma'am comes back. And if she's there, she will continue.
Thank you, Padma ma'am. Thank you very much for continuing this. Ma'am, Sunita ma'am, are you there? I guess she's there.
Yes, I'm connected now. Sorry.
Yeah, no issues, ma'am. Padma ma'am just continued from there. So
Okay,
it's
sweet.
so nice of her.
Yeah. Now again, I would like to share the screen. How do I go about? Okay, so the modern version of the story is that finally the rabbit and the tortoise become friends, and because they are friendly, they become buddies. They identify their core competencies, and they decide to help each other. So when they decide to have a different route for the winning for the race. So the rabbit helps the tortoise when they are running on the land, and when they come to the shore of the river and they have to cross the river, the tortoise takes the rabbit on its back and they reach the winning pole to the other side of the river bank. So the moral of the story is learn to identify the core competencies and try to collaborate and help each other. That is the scenario today in today's world. We need to collaborate and use each other's core competencies to get success. Teamwork plays a very important role. We know that team is together, each achieves more success. So everybody becomes successful when you are working in a team. Another aspect is that Ubuntu, we all know what is Ubuntu. It's that African philosophy. So one anthropologist, what he does is he keeps a basket full of sweets under a tree, and he calls a group of boys and he says, come on, start running. Whoever reaches first will get the full basket of sweets. So they were very smart, these children. What they do is they hold hands and they all run together and reach at that point under the tree together. And then they sit comfortably. Each one takes a sweet, shares the sweet, and eats. So today, I am because we are. So gone are those days when we used to talk about I. Today, we is the word, and we have to collaborate and cooperate with people. And that's what we have to teach our children. Collaboration is very important. So after these personal skills, social skills, we are moving to thinking skills. Now, when we talk about thinking skills, it's developing the cognitive aspect of the learner. And when we are talking about cognitive aspect, we are not saying about memorization. We have to use our most obedient servants, what, who, when, why, where, and how. So if you teach your learners to use inquiry model of learning by asking who, when, why, where, what, and how, I think they will develop inquiring mind and will get many more scientists, many more artists. Instead of focusing on memorization, this is the learners will try to find out by themselves, and they will develop the analytical mind, the creative mind, the critical mind, which we want to develop. Today, even in our national policy, they have given constructivism should be the way you teach in the class, construct knowledge. We have to teach our learners to construct knowledge. And without these questions, asking inquiring mind, we cannot develop these inquiring minds without developing these skills, which we are going to discuss very soon now. Yeah, there's one activity for you, a small little activity. I'm sure you have a paper and a pencil. Can you place the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the circle shown below? Only one number may be placed in a circle and all numbers must be used. Only once you have to use. When the final arrangement is complete, the sum of each side's 3 numbers must all be the same number. I'm giving you just a few seconds. Can you try, please? So there's a triangle with a circle and 1 to 6 are the numbers to be arranged. In such a manner, the total has to be same for all the 3 sides. I'm sure some of you might have got the answer. Would you like to put it in the chat box? Here's the answer for you. 1 to 6, no repetition. And see the total. 3 plus 5 plus 1 is 9. 1 plus 6 plus 2 is 9 again. 2 plus 4 plus 3 is 9 again. So here you have used your thinking skills. Totally, you can't do guesswork over here, and trial and error, of course, analytical mind, taking decision. All these skills, the higher order skills, are developed with problem solving with the problems. And you as teachers may be aware of revised Bloom's taxonomy, which today is needed in the classrooms when we are talking about the thinking skill, the higher order skills. We have to help the children to create. Creation is given the topmost priority, just see. So remember was in olden days, okay, remember and memorization. Understanding, yes, without understanding, you will not be able to learn. Application plays a very important role because whatever you have learned, you should be able to apply. Otherwise, we learn for 16 years and 20 years and we are unable to use the knowledge, what we have learned. Then analyze, evaluate, and create. If you want to construct something new, I think these skills are to be developed. And that is the emphasis today in the new policy also. And we as parents and teachers also should try to have our dealings in such a manner that the children develop these cognitive skills, the higher order skills as well as the lower order skills to be developed. So these are the lower order, it's understanding and remembering, whereas higher order are creating, evaluating, analyzing, and applying. So as teachers, you have to provide activities which from where you can use these skills. They should be more of higher order and less of lower order questions, so that when you give the questions, the child should be able to analyze, apply, evaluate, and create something new. It's not just the rote memorization. There's one more small problem for you to solve, the matchstick problem. So can you see 6 matchsticks? And you have to arrange them in such a manner that 4 equilateral triangles are formed. So if you have a pencil and a paper, just try with these 6 matchsticks, how you can have an equilateral triangle with 4 sides. Yeah, this is the solution for your problem. So, these problems and topics or content which makes the learner to think. You have to think of such content which will help the learner to think and develop their thinking skills. Again, whenever there is a problem, the process of problem solving goes on. Where, what, why, which, how, whom, when. Constantly, they should be using this. The next type of thinking is the critical thinking and the creative thinking. And these are helpful in our problem solving skills to be developed, decision making and problem solving. What is critical thinking? When you analyze, when the learner analyzes and tries to find out the pros and cons and tries to come to a consensus or solution, he is able to make decisions. And creative is out of the box thinking, should try to think creatively, innovatively, add something new to the old knowledge, that becomes creative thinking. And today, that's the need of the hour. None of our schools or institution, higher education institutions reflect in the top 100, in the surveys. That's because we fail to develop these skills. And that's why all the more we have to give our emphasis on developing these skills. So creative thinking is the thinking we do when we generate ideas. And critical thinking is the thinking we do when we judge ideas. Now, these critical thinking and creative thinking helps us in decision making. Decision making can be regarded as the judgmental process resulting in the selection of a course of action. When trying to make a good decision, a person must weigh the positives and the negatives of each option and consider all the alternatives. And you know how important it is to make right decisions. Right, wrong, whatever it is, we should be able to make right decisions. Only then you will get that sense of fulfillment and achievement. And for that, we have to teach our students to take the right decision, and the teachers have to provide enough activities for that. Just sitting in the classroom, they are not going to learn these skills. You have to take them out on excursions, then let them face with some problems, let them take decisions on their own. Or when you give the projects, the parents should not help the children. Let them try to come at a crossroad, try to take decisions, make choices, and find solutions. So all the activities, the curriculum is very good per se, if you see, but the way it trickles down in the classroom and way it is implemented, we fail sometimes over there. So whatever projects are given, activities are given, researches are given, let's do in right earnest so that we develop all these skills. Decision-making skills, everyday life is an endless sequence of decisions. Decision-making is a thought process of selecting a logical choice from the available options. Rational decisions maximize our chances of happiness, successful living, and fulfillment. Good decision-making, life is again the same, what is given over here. It's very important to make the right decision, and that's the key to success. So rational thinking, logical thinking, analytical thinking, all these skills to be developed. And as I said, let the children get a lot of exposure to activities. Only then they will be able to develop these skills. A systematic approach to defining a problem and creating a vast number of possible solutions without judging these solutions is what we say problem solving. So the problem solving cycle: identify the problem, explore, set goals, then find the alternatives, select from all these alternatives the right ones, implement, and try to evaluate whether what you have selected is right or wrong. And the last set of skills which we are going to discuss, they are coping with stress and emotion. Friends, today the condition is such that research has proved that within every 5 individuals, one is undergoing mental illness, depression. And that's a huge number, I feel. One thing or the other keeps worrying. And that's why this is the need of the hour now. We have to teach coping skills. Earlier in olden days, this was not necessary, but today it's the need of the hour. How to cope up with stress and emotions, how to control your emotions, whether it's joy or anger or fear, how to cope up with the stress which is all around us. This is very important. And at school level, it should begin, I feel. At home, okay, yes, the parents are taking care of, but at school level, if teachers try to put in a little more efforts, we need not have specially appointed counselors. Teachers can be good guides and counselors. So stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. And so many things make us frustrated and nervous. If things don't go our way, we get angry. That's why those interpersonal skills, as well as like understanding others' opinions, others' viewpoints. And we have to teach this in group activities. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. So first, let's know what are these hormones. You know, they are happy hormones, and our brain produces these hormones. So if these hormones are in the right proportion, I think we will not have any mental illness. The first one is the oxytocin, which is the love hormone. And the love hormone, if it is in right place, you know, in right proportion, the individual will not undergo any stress. And what is this love hormone? How do you get this love hormone? You can get it through bonding, through physical affection, cuddling, shake hand maybe, or pat maybe. How many of our teachers are doing this? How many of the parents are doing this? Because it's a big taboo in our society, you know, that once the child grows a little bigger, we don't really cuddle him or hug him or her. So this love hormone plays a very important role in keeping your mental health in right place. Next is the dopamine, that is feel good. And how do you have this? Through exercise, laughter, hobbies. Develop good hobbies. Teach your learners, teach your children, other than studies, to have good hobbies and give importance to exercises. Next is serotonin, which reduces depression. So again, exercise, sports, hobbies, good food, balanced diet, good sleep, all these things are going to go a long way. Endorphin is which makes you happy, reduces physical pain, and again, exposure to sunlight, hobbies like dance, music, etc., are going to help us in having these happy hormones produced in our brain. And the human function curve says that to some extent, stress is good, and that is called as good stress, because that drives you, keeps you motivated, and drives you towards your goal, because it keeps pricking, you know, you have to do this, you have to do it well. So that little bit of stress is a good stress. But more than that, the hump you see in the graph, more than that, it is distress, because it leads to exhaustion, it leads to ill health, and finally to breakdown. So we have to be aware of our stress level, the parents and the teachers, and try to take right decisions, seeing the stress level. Some give up, you know, some children literally give up because of the stress level. So their intervention is required, and the teachers and parents play a very important role over there. Now, how do you reduce your stress levels? You know, you can go outside and kick a ball or run around, punch a pillow, listen to music, close your eyes and think of a calm place, draw a picture, write a letter or a story, read a book, talk to someone, ask for a hug. These are some of the ways of stress management: music, therapy, spa, exercise, hobby, meditation, yoga, nature. Be with the nature. Today, because of these digital appliances, the children, whatever little time they get, they are with their apps, with their applications. So we have to take them out for nature trails, let them enjoy the nature, teach them how to enjoy the nature, be with the nature. And time management. You know, a lot of stress is created because of mismanagement of time, especially during examinations. I think we should teach our children to take good diet, sufficient sleep, and practice before the examinations. Practice makes a man perfect. They have to revise, and again revise, so that they are calm, happy, prepared, and confident. These are some of the stress busters. The pictures are shown. Go into the open air, have sunlight, then exercising, yoga, most important, do gardening, maybe have a pet, or maybe spend time with the family, exercising. These are some of the, we all know now during this pandemic we have been doing. So the stress busters should really help, and we have to teach our children to practice this, going to the gym or exercising or yoga or whatever. Finally, keep calm and carry on. This is the mantra we have to teach them. And through breathing exercises, I think they'll be able to do this. So yoga has been introduced in schools, but it's not done that seriously. Even the children are not doing it that seriously. So somehow you have to try to create that awareness. And finally, these are the 10 skills. Again, you can read more, try to practice in the classrooms or at home, so that we have well-balanced personalities, and the future citizens will be able to cope up with the difficulties faced in the life. In good old days, we never had so many tensions and stress factors. But today, as we see, children are facing tough times ahead. And I think we have to prepare them for the world, for the days to come. And as teachers, we are the torch bearers, and parents, we shoulder the responsibility of really molding good, happy citizens. You know, Dr. Freud has said that all his patients who came with mental illness had very bad, very unhappy childhood. So let's give our children that happy childhood and let's do that bit on our part. Thank you so much.